Gotta unmute myself. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Gina Lee. I'm one of the admissions counselor here at Pacific University. Welcome again to another Lunch with the Boxer series today. We're very happy to have you. Um, Today we have JC Whitehead. Dr. Whitehead is going to talk a little bit about the program that she's involved with and some of the upcoming things, exciting things that are happening this summer. And while we are waiting for some kind of those last minute stragglers, if once again we can ensure that your first and last name is reflected on the screen, so we can ensure that you get your questions answered if for some reason we're unable to get to them today. If you hover over onto the bottom of the screen, there is a little chat bubble there. Feel free to send in any questions that you have. You can have it sent to everyone in the group, or you can send it to me privately. I know that is the preferred communication for some of our family members here. So feel free to send those over to me privately, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered. And before we actually get started with JC today, we actually also have Dr. Phillips back here, and she's going to just kind of give us a brief update about kind of the whole situation here. So Dr. Phillips, Sarah, I think I see. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can bring you up here. And we'll get started. Oh, there you are.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Sarah Phillips. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Welcome to my spare bedroom. I'm delighted that you're here. Happy to answer any questions that you have about the upcoming year. Just to give you a few updates so that you know where we are. Pacific, like all universities, we're required to follow what our state, what the governor of Oregon says we are allowed to do, and what the Higher Education Coordinating Commission for the state of Oregon tells us that we are allowed to do. At this point, we are planning to be in person in the fall. There is no sign from the state that will not be possible. There's every sign that that's what we're going to be doing across the state. So we will be back on campus in the fall. If students are unable to join us in the fall for any particular reason, students will be able to join their classes remotely. So you will be able to do either thing in the fall so that you can join us. We are going to be making a few changes to how we operate in the fall to try to keep folks safe. So one of the things that we'll be changing a little bit is we're going to be moving some classes around so that there's space between students in classes. So we don't have a whole lot of big classes anyway, but there won't be any what we define as big classes. It's different when you're a small school than if you're a state school, right? State school will have a class of 400 students in it. When we get to having 40 in it, everybody's head explodes. So we will be having only smaller classes. We will have rules about where you can be and can't be in group settings, systems for cleaning in between classes and in hallways and in things that students touch. So we'll have a lot of those processes in place for the fall when students return. Another change that you can expect is that one of the things that we need to do is to minimize students' travel on and off campus, so that when you travel off campus, as you should, you are exposed to all sorts of different people and places, and that is a great thing. I love to travel. It's not a great thing in a pandemic. And so we're going to try to minimize students moving on and off campus next year. So what that means is when we send students home for Thanksgiving this fall, students will stay home, and we'll finish up the fall semester online with finals after that break, so that we don't have students running back and forth. That helps us minimize the chances of anybody getting sick. So those are a few updates. You're going to be getting all of this information via email with lots more information in there. If there are specific questions that I can answer, I'm happy to do that. I will hang around here mostly just so I can eavesdrop on JC and make her nervous. But otherwise I'll be lurking here in the background in case there's anything that you need. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before we go into the questions, feel free to keep asking your questions here, and we'll get to the Q&A session towards the end here. But let's go ahead with JC. Welcome. Can you? We'll start off with kind of your self-introduction and how you're involved within the school, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm JC Whitehead. I'm a professor of sociology and also director of the School of Social Sciences and associate dean in the College of Arts and Sciences. For those of you that have been to Preview Fridays, you've heard a little bit more about my background and how I came to Pacific. For those of you that don't know that, the short version is that I came to Pacific as an undergraduate student, found my passion in sociology, went on to UC Berkeley to get my PhD in sociology, and then came back to Pacific as a professor. So I've been at Pacific for a good chunk of my life, it turns out. And so I have a few different vantage points from the university and things that I can talk about. So I would say, when it comes to the social sciences at Pacific, one thing, just to introduce you to the disciplines that are in the social sciences, which is the school that I direct. We have politics and government, we have psychology, we have social work, public health, which is clearly relevant right now. We have sociology, criminal justice, law and society, and we have anthropology, economics, history, and international studies. Gender and sexuality studies is also housed within the School of Social Sciences. So other than just a set of disciplines, there are a few things that unite us as a school and things that we have as priorities in the School of Social Sciences. And one of them is practicum or internship-based education. So a number of our majors in the social sciences have students required to go out and do some kind of practical application of the academic learning they're doing in their classes. So for example, in social work, this includes a practicum where they go into agencies, for example, and do some work. And for criminal justice law and society, this includes a practicum course that is about entering some kind of level of work that they would like to explore after Pacific. In addition to that, we also specialize in undergraduate research. So there are a number of faculty who work on research projects continuously, and they include undergraduates in those projects. And surprisingly enough, we actually have a number of undergraduates from Pacific who have published in peer review journals with faculty members. So this is pretty cool stuff that we're doing. And then a third priority that we have is in inclusion. And so our classes are designed in a way that we include a lot of different styles of learning, and we include perspectives from many different backgrounds. So that just gives you kind of an introduction of what social sciences is like at Pacific. And I'm happy to take any more questions about that for those of you interested in the social sciences. As Gina mentioned, I'm also a host professor for a brand new course that we're running this summer. It's called PACU 155, Understanding COVID-19. And it's the first time in Pacific's history that we've offered a free course to incoming students. So it's pretty exciting. It's only 1 credit. It's a pass-fail course. And you would hear, it's a 6-week course. It's 6 weeks, 6 professors from 6 different disciplines. Painting a picture for you how to understand COVID-19 from their particular discipline's perspective. So we have a professor from politics and government, one from math, one from biology, from public health, which is obvious choice, and also from philosophy and film. So I know that some of you are probably already enrolled for that class. The enrollment is still open if there are any students who are interested in taking it. It's 2 hours on Tuesdays from 6 to 8, and it starts next week. So that's about the class. I think it'll be fun. It'll be cool just to get to know the professors a little bit, but also there will be student discussion leaders who are returning students or recent graduates who will be organizing some discussion sessions with the students in the class after the faculty presentations. So that's what I have to offer at this point, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Awesome. Thank you so much, JC. We are getting a lot of questions, and I was actually able to kind of look at some of the student profiles that are leading the discussion, and I got really excited, and I had to actually share it with my colleagues, and I was like, did you guys see all these students and what they're doing? I definitely feel underachieved when I was in college and I didn't go to Pacific. So thank you. So we're very excited about that free summer class. That is amazing to have for a free college credit. So most of the questions right now that have been popping up are kind of geared towards the announcement that Sarah Phillips had made about kind of Thanksgiving break and students staying home after that. So,
You know, Gina, that's so normal for Sarah to come and try to upstage me. It just happens all the time.
but I promise we have a lot of and even one that is about the class too. So even great. But just to address kind of the big questions that popped up, Sarah, what if students choose to stay on campus during Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so we always have students who stay on campus through the Thanksgiving break, and some even who stay through the winter break. So all of that will be possible. We're not physically lifting up students and removing them from the hall. So they will have those same possibilities that they do now. Some students who are athletes, their teams may still be practicing or playing, and so they may be staying on campus during that time. And that's pretty normal for us.
Okay. And the other big question that's coming up for them is if they do leave campus for Thanksgiving, how is that going to affect the cost of tuition and room and board and housing?
So it's not going to change your tuition at all, but there will be an adjustment for your room and board, and folks are working on that right now. See, what I do is what I just did here: is show up, make some proclamation so everybody's heads explode. And so just before this meeting, I did that with the housing group. So they're working on that, and that will just. The idea is that'll just be reflected in initial bills when they go out, right? So, so they're working on that part, and so to be clear, you're not done when you go home at Thanksgiving. You're going to be taking your final exam still. You're just going to take them remotely.
Awesome. And then what about the kids that are living off campus? How is that going to be handled? Will they have an option for just doing online classes?
During after the Thanksgiving part, or overall?
I think the question might have been overall, just kind of general, because I think you had mentioned students who are, going off campus to visit Portland. We're trying to kind of minimize that, but we do have students who will be commuting, so they'll have to be on campus every day. So if you can maybe go into
okay. So we will have safety protocols in place for those folks, right? We will know where they're coming to and from, and we will have ways of. Well, I mean, we will check temperatures and that sort of thing. So they're fine. And the question about can you be online? We have promised our students that they can go to school and they can take classes. And so that includes a student who, if a student is vulnerable for some reason, has a health vulnerability, they get to take classes. So they can take them online. So yes, students will have that option, right? They will be able to do their classes online, or they will be able to do them in person. Our preference always is to be in person. That's what we do best. But we will make it happen, right? For any student who needs that.
And for the students who don't want to leave and they don't have any sports or athletics that they need to stay for, can they stay during Thanksgiving break and finish out the course and not have to go home?
Possibly. That is one thing that the housing group is still working on. And just to be completely honest with you, students don't like to just stay in their dorm room. They will want to travel. And so we really are trying to minimize that. And so it will depend a little bit on what the students' plans are. But will some students be doing that? Yes, I expect they will. But since we have some students for whom the residence hall really is their home, they don't have another home that they go to. So yes, there will be some students doing that for sure.
Awesome. And JC, I have a question for you. We talked a little bit about that summer class. How do they register for the class?
Well, they can send me an email and I'll make sure that they get registered. So Gina, can you make sure that they get my email?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. I have the student who asked, so I'll make sure that he gets your email. And for any other of your students or parents, feel free to email your admissions counselor that you are interested in registering for the class, and we'll ensure that you get registered. So summer registration is a little bit easier. Fall registration, do you know by chance when fall registration will happen? If not, I think I have an answer to that too. So
The dates of fall registration.
yeah, when do students sign up for fall classes?
So students will sign up for fall classes during the summer, right? How they will get contacted by an advisor, and the advisor will walk them through, here are the things that you should be thinking about. Students will have either received by now or will be receiving an academic interest survey, which asks them what sorts of classes they're interested in, and that helps the advisor when the advisor contacts them to walk through what sorts of classes that they'd be enrolling in. Traditionally, we've done that in person. We've done it in July. Since we're not doing it in person, it gives us a little more flexibility in terms of timing. So I don't know the exact start date off the top of my head, but it will be happening this summer.
And then a couple questions that are coming through is if the students who do not decide to go home after Thanksgiving, will classes be online or in person after Thanksgiving?
So that's a good question. If you look at our calendar, we actually have 1 week of classes only after Thanksgiving. And so I don't know, I don't have an exact answer for you on that yet. I don't know why they would necessarily not be able to do them in person if they are on campus. It's really the coming and going that we're trying to prevent. So I'll have to check in with housing about that and think about that a little bit. But so I don't have a perfect answer for you on that one yet.
Awesome. And then so after fall semester is over, then will spring semester start as per the regular start time?
Yep, as far as we know now, so we have a January term and we have a spring term, right? And right now those 2 terms are scheduled to start, on time on their regular schedule. And I do see that somebody asked a question, like, what's the difference there? What's the difference between going home at Thanksgiving versus going home over the longer break? And the difference is that it's a longer break and there's not a back and forth, right? At Thanksgiving, we send students out, they come back and they're literally back for a week and a half, and then they leave again. And the primary, as far as we understand the virus at this point, right, the primary time when you need to be worried about people coming and going is in that first 3-week period. We don't even get through that 3-week period before people leave again. So the longer break in between lets us sanitize everything before everybody comes back, and then we start that 3-week period again when folks come back again, where that 3-week period where we're hyper vigilant about making sure that everybody's healthy and well and fine.
And what about Jan term then? Does that change for it's that winter course that we have in between fall and spring?
So far, we've made no changes to Jan term or to spring. They're scheduled to be in person on the regular calendar.
Awesome. And some students in the community are considering deferring school for a year. Is this an option that we're giving students? Is there a specific way to kind of go about that process?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And you're going to get some more information about that through the admissions office pretty soon. What defer means for folks who don't know is it's if you are a student, you've been admitted, you ask, hey, can I delay my start from the fall to the spring or from this fall to the following fall, right? And we will have an application process for that. So you'll have to request that. Some things to keep in mind when you are thinking about that. Some of the technical things that you want to be thinking about are your financial aid offer. Is your financial aid offer now? So your financial aid offer does not follow you to another year. You would have to reapply and you would get a new financial aid offer. If you defer to spring, you essentially get the spring half of your financial aid offer, right? So you don't have to reapply if you're deferring to this coming spring. But if you are deferring for a year, then you are starting over, right? In terms of financial aid. In order to hold your spot in the class, we will have certain requirements that, if you are interested or are thinking about deferring, you will get more information through admissions about that soon, and they'll have a sheet that you will go through that will say, okay, I understand, here's the deal, I have to do this, I have to do that if I am deferring in order to hold my spot. One thing I will say to you all, I understand some of the fear and the desire to defer. I think I would ask you to think about it. I don't think you're going to get a job right now, and you will make progress, right, toward your degree if you're starting school. So I know that it would be great to start school the same way school looked 2 years ago. And I know that's not an option this fall. It's going to be a little different. It's still going to be pretty great. You're still going to have friends. You're still going to make friends, learn new things, do new things. So try not to let yourself get too anxious about that. I think that it will still be a pretty fantastic experience.
Absolutely. And I do want to reiterate, if you are having thoughts of deferring, reach out to your admissions counselor. We are more than happy to sit down and talk to you guys about what the pros and cons of deferring is and what it'll look like. And so we're more than happy to kind of walk through that with you. And so please reach out to us. There will be some announcements coming in a little bit. And so we'll let you guys know as soon as we hear what's going on as well too. So JC, I have some questions for you. Will the lectures for the free class be recorded? I think this question might be referring to maybe students who aren't able to make the Tuesday 6 to 8 time frame. Will there be options for them? Is this something that they have to be there live for?
So the lectures will be recorded, but because we're not getting FERPA releases for the class, they won't be available unless you're in the class. So you have to be enrolled in the class in order to get access to the lectures.
Awesome. So if they are enrolled in the class though, but they can't make it to the Tuesdays and to 8, are they still able to take the class?
Yes, they would be able to do that. Although I would encourage them to go to the student discussion sessions, because that's where they're going to meet other incoming students, and that's where they're going to meet some returning Pacific students. So like Sarah was saying about making friends, not that you should necessarily take her advice about making friends. I'm not sure, Sarah. Anyway, speaking of making friends, that's a good way to get to know people even before, fall starts.
Awesome. So definitely some options for you guys there. And then the next question, I think we're going to jump back to Sarah on this. Do you know what's happening with athletics? I know D3 conference is in discussion right now. Can we get an update on what's going on with D3?
Right. So right now, no. I have an extremely unsatisfying answer for you, which is we don't know yet. There's a lot of discussion going on about it, but so far no changes have been made. So far, our plan is we're going ahead with fall sports as we normally do. I don't know that will hold, especially for high contact sports, but no decisions have been made yet. So for that one, you will have to hang in there a little bit longer. I don't think too much longer, but a little bit longer, a few more weeks, couple more weeks. So.
Perfect. And I guess this is a really good question. Will school be allowing parents to visit or any outside visits? I know that's going to be a question that's going to be popping up as well.
Yeah, we're not prison, guys. You're not volunteering to go to prison. So, yeah, of course, we will make all those things possible, and we'll figure out how to do it safely. So there's just going to be protocols around what folks can and can't do. So so don't panic about that part.
You don't want your new title to be
Warden. I'm gonna be the warden, guys.
Warden Phillips, you know, it rolls off the tongue. The next question that came into me was, JC, could you talk a little bit about some of the internship opportunities and how that might change in the fall?
That's a great question. Right now, we don't really know how they're going to change in the fall, and we have a work group who's looking at that. So talking to all of the people that we generally coordinate our practicum and internships with to see what are their plans going to be. So as the situation evolves out in the organizations and businesses that we normally have relationships with, we'll coordinate our policies and the directions that we're going to move. I also know that there's some explorations into some virtual internships that are happening right here at Pacific, and that's outside the social sciences as well, doing some research on how we can get our students some opportunities in those areas as well. But at this point, your guess is as good as mine when it comes to what is it actually going to look like in the fall. Right now, the best we can really do is just coordinate and communicate with our agencies. So we're prepared to adjust as needed safely.
Awesome. And for students, how do they get an internship? And is it possible freshman year to get an internship?
Yes, it is possible to get an internship your freshman year. And there are multiple ways of getting internships. One way is you can do it through your major, through your program. There are some, for some majors, it's a requirement. For other majors, it's optional, but there are connections that faculty may have and alumni may have to help you get internships. We also have an advising and career services office that helps students find placements. Sometimes students have an idea of where they want to be, and in that way, our advising and career services help those students find a placement. We have internships that are by credit. We also have some opportunities for paid internships.
Awesome. There's a couple questions that are popping up that are kind of outside of what the realm of what we've been talking about is, so I'll just quickly answer them. Jan term will start depending on how many credits the class is. Some classes will start a couple weeks into January. Some classes will start just after the New Year's Day and the following week after that. So Jan term, if it's per normal schedule, it will depend on the credits and how many credits are involved in that class. And I think generally the one with the higher credits will start a little bit earlier. So Jan term will be per normal. And to confirm, there will be classes in the fall time until Thanksgiving break, and after that, when students leave, then we won't be coming back, and we'll continue finals online. I don't think there's going to be any changes in the fall date. Sarah, could you kind of maybe confirm if there's any changes in the fall start term?
No changes in the fall start.
No changes in the fall start. Awesome. The next question was for voyages as well too. We actually are going to have voyages hop in for lunch with the series next week. Justin is going to be here. He's the one who's directing the entire voyage program, and I know they're kind of looking into like the parks and stuff and how that's going to look by having it in a group, and so they're definitely working on it, and we'll be able to get you an update on voyages next Thursday when Justin is here. JC, you discussed internship possibilities. Is it available for students in arts and sciences only, or is it opportunity for all students on campus?
All students on campus in the undergraduate programs have options for internships.
Awesome. And I know we have the Career Development Center, and they're usually really great about that as well. Most students have told me they just love going to you guys directly. You guys just do an amazing job of helping students here. So thank you for that. And I think the initial kind of big news, Sarah, that you gave, all those kind of came through, and everything's kind of slowing down now. So if there are any questions, please go ahead and keep asking them. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a question in there for JC. If you can talk about diversity within the student body and programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question. So, at Pacific, colleges in general are a place where people who are different come together. You meet people from all kinds of different backgrounds that you would maybe never have met before in your hometown or in your neighborhood. So the student body at Pacific is very diverse in terms of ethnicity, in terms of where they come from regionally. You all correct me if I'm wrong with my numbers, but is about 20% of our student body are students from Hawaii, for example? About right? And
And
a
just
number,
about, they're about 14% from the state of Hawaii, I believe.
yeah, and we have a number of students who are Latino, Latinx. We have students from a variety of ethnic backgrounds. I noticed in the question, it's also about what are the extracurricular programs and areas of study. The one thing I think you'll really find interesting at Pacific is we have these centers that are both academic and social in nature, and they connect students with the community. Those centers include the Student Multicultural Center and the Center for Gender Equity. And those two centers are definitely centers that encapsulate the values of inclusion and equity. Students find a lot of opportunities to get to know each other in the centers, but also to make contributions to their community and learn through specific classes that are connected to the centers. So for example, the Center for Gender Equity oftentimes coordinates programming with our academic minor in gender and sexuality studies. So these are opportunities that are more formalized and more institutionalized at Pacific with the faculty and with staff. There are also a number of clubs, and I'm not a part of student life, so there are other folks that are more qualified to speak about the clubs, but there are multiple clubs that serve all kinds of diverse interests and students from diverse backgrounds. And I know recently the clubs came together and created what they call the Collective, which is this really cool group of student clubs who recognize the importance of intersectionality. In other words, of recognizing that we have multiple identities and multiple ways of being in the world, and to try not to reduce our existence to only being one kind of person. So that's a fun thing about college, is you get to know who you are and who other people are, and expressions of difference. And I don't know, it's fun.
Awesome, thank you. And this is kind of referring to those internships again. Is it something that freshmen should do? Is it required, or is it something that maybe they can look at later on in the years? I know there's a lot of what's the best route for, not falling behind. Could you maybe go into offer some insight on that?
Yeah, I don't think you're falling behind if you don't do an internship your freshman year. I think students come in with different levels of, first of all, interest. How do they want to spend their time in college? And secondly, in terms of readiness, what are you ready to do? So I would say having a conversation with your academic advisor and your career advisor about what's the right step for you is the way to go. But I would say across the board, it would not be frowned upon if you didn't have an internship your freshman year. I will say the benefit of doing an internship your freshman or your sophomore year is that it can give you more experience, so that it will guide some of your interests in classes and academic choices that you make, but definitely not a requirement.
Yeah, I like to tell the story of one of our students who initially came in for PT, went into her first job shadow and realized physical therapists are touching patients without gloves. And that was kind of a no factor for her. She is currently at Columbia University's grad program for public health instead. And so definitely those internships are going to be a huge, huge help in terms of determining what's going to be a good fit for you. So we definitely encourage that. JC, on the online class that we have for this summer, do we know what the discussion times are going to be for when they are discussing with students? Is the 6 to 8 the lecture portion of it, and then a separate discussion? Can you go into a little bit more clarity on that as well, please?
Yeah, that's roughly true. It would be mostly like 50, 55 minutes. So yeah, the first hour of lecture, and then I'll take some questions over chat like you're doing right now. With the faculty member. And then after that, we'll do breakout rooms. So I would say in general, breakout rooms will start around 7 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. But the timing won't be perfect. Because faculty, blah, blah, blah. They want to talk longer. Next thing you know, it's like 7:30 and I'm going, come on.
I used to hear that all the time being an ESL teacher. My students told me I talk too much. So
I can't imagine that, Gina.
Is there a cap on how big the classes are going to be? I know they're filling up right now.
Are we talking about classes in the fall or this summer class?
For the summer class, sorry.
No, there's no cap.
Awesome. So email your admissions counselors. It's free. If you're enrolled, you might as well take the class. Summer, I'm sure indoors, it's not going to be as exciting, so you might as well take these classes here. The next question that popped up is, how are clubs going to be handled in the fall with COVID happening? Obviously, those questions, it'll vary, but could you maybe, if there's any discussion that's been happening with the clubs, are they meeting? You can go into that a little bit.
Do you want to take that, Sarah?
Sure. So clubs will be clubs in the fall. If we're on campus, we're on campus, and there will be campus clubs, just like there always are. They will not be sitting right smack next to each other. They'll be spread out in a room so there's more space. But clubs are going to meet like clubs do. So I don't think people should worry about that.
And in terms of the students kind of being on and off campus again, will students be allowed to leave campus to go to Portland or do outside recreational activities off campus?
Yeah, so this goes back to the prison thing again. Not prison, guys.
Warden Phillips.
So yes, you could do all that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then for freshman students that want to identify potential internships, it sounds like, does it have to happen in the summertime? Can they wait? Are there internship deadlines? Can maybe somebody go into detail about what that looks like? Do they come into internship and go to their pod later and say, I want to do an internship during orientation, or how does that work?
Sarah, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So if you want to do an internship, the first person that you want to tell is your advisor in the summer. When you're registering for classes, say, hey, I'm interested in doing an internship, and they will help you think about our advisors do both academic and career advising. So they're ready for that question or that comment. If you say, hey, I want to do one, and they'll help you think about when is the best time for you to do that. It may not be in your very first semester. A lot of students are adjusting to college life in your first semester. So they may say, hey, let's fit it in here. But that's where you mention it. And then they'll help you from there. You're not going to be left on your own, I promise. If anything, you're going to have more people asking you, how can I help you, or what do you need, than you want. So don't worry about that.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think there was a little bit of confusion in regards to the sports component and moving home for Thanksgiving. So the question, if you can clarify again, for students who will continue they're in basketball, it looks like, and it continues in December and January. So housing and room and board will be available for those athletes, is that correct?
Athletes will be staying just like they always have.
And the actual date for the fall semester always starts on the last Monday of August. That's always going to be your first day of class. As to when orientation is, it's usually the Thursday or Friday prior. This year it's going to be the Thursday prior. Depending on if you are a student athlete or if you are going on voyages, those move-in dates are going to be different. If you are not participating in any of the kind of the early move-in dates for those that some of our athletes and voyages are doing, then your move-in date will likely be on the 27th. You'll get information. You should be filling out the housing application that was sent to your Pacific email. So make sure to check that. And July 15th, you should be able to see your dorm assignments and who your roommate is and kind of get all that good information there. So lots of things will probably be happening closer to the July timeframe. So hopefully that answers that as well. And so essentially, we don't really have too many other questions coming in, which I'm happy that you guys are both here helping to answer these questions. Initially, we were very excited to announce that summer class there because it is a free summer program. One more question, is the January semester mandatory or optional?
The January term is optional. It's part of the tuition you're already paying. So I would encourage you to take a look at it. There's some pretty fantastic classes in there. It works a little differently than our semester class, right? In a semester, you're taking multiple classes from multiple faculty, so your time and your attention is divided up, right, in between 4 or 5 different classes. In January, you take one class at a time, and you spend a lot of time with a professor every single day. So it's a very different sort of learning environment. We try to give both throughout the year, because some people do best in one environment, some people do best in the other, but it's very different, right? To have that sort of extended close time with a faculty member. So I would encourage you to take a look at it. I think I think for a lot of students, it's sort of a really kind of different, fun time in class.
Awesome. And I've got some questions about signing up for the online class. Yes, you can still sign up for it. I will follow up with you on that. But are there plenty of job opportunities for freshman students? Can somebody touch base on maybe work study and what type of jobs are available? Like, I know in the admissions office, it's writing cards for us or making phone calls or texting. I'm actually not too familiar with what types of work study jobs that you guys have in your respective departments. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about what the academic work study jobs look like?
Yeah, sure. I can start, and then Sarah can clean up after me a little bit. So we have jobs for work study students, freshmen all the way up to senior, all in pretty much every office on campus. There's a possibility for a work study student. I think in the academic departments, most students who do work study are involved in helping faculty with research or helping faculty with their classes. And I know a number of students who are work study students that also do things like help faculty organize guest lectures and presentations. So it's actually a pretty cool thing. And then we have some that work in our offices who help us organize things. But, you know, so there are different levels of things that you can do. You can just be starting out as a freshman and not necessarily have a lot of detailed knowledge about a field and still find a nice work study job. You know, there are some work study jobs that one of the bonuses is you get paid to study. So that's kind of nice. And in those cases, we find that students actually benefit from the relationships they get with their work study supervisors. So we have the GROW program. And in that program, you're not just doing stuff for a job, but we're actually looking at student employment as a part of your education and a part of your development while you're at Pacific. So Sarah, if you may want to say more about the GROW program, but that's just kind of an introduction to how we see work at Pacific.
Yeah, the GROW it's an acronym, refers to Guided Reflection on Work. And one of the things that research has taught us is that students who have a job on campus and spend time sitting down with their supervisor and talking about how the skills they're learning in that job will apply to their future, right? To the careers they're imagining, those students do better. And so we try to incorporate students work on campus. Yes, they're working so that they can earn money. We get that, but we also try to tie it back to their academic success. So so that's what that program is about. And there are all kinds of work study jobs all over campus. And some students will have you'll get a work study allotment in your financial aid package. There will be fair, for a lack of a better word, in the beginning of the semester to help students locate work study jobs. So again, you're not on your own for that. We will walk you through how to find a job, how to get set up in it, all that sort of thing.
I will say one of my favorite work study jobs, and I think this is beyond work study, it's also student employment in general, is the media arts department. It has what's called the MAPS program. It's really cool. So the students are trained with cameras, video cameras, regular cameras, and they do projects. They do media arts projects for different departments across campus. So it's really cool. So they get to take what they're learning in classes and really apply it in a way and get paid for it.
There are even work study jobs that are off campus, part of the regulations, federal regulations for having a work study program. Work study is a federal program. is that a certain percentage of your hours are in service to the community. And so we actually place students in work study jobs in community organizations that match up again with the students' ambitions for their career or ideas that they want to try something out. It's always good, right? If somebody thinks they want to be a teacher, to get them around little kids, to decide if they actually like little kids before they major in that. So we try to do a lot of those sorts of things as well.
I know my colleague, one of his jobs, work study jobs off campus, was to help senior citizens use the internet and figure out how to use a computer. And he said that was memorable.
Yeah, and just another example of that, we work with Adventures Without Limits, which is a really cool work study job you can get with Adventures Without Limits. Is a program to increase accessibility in outdoor activities. And so I know that was a big impactful project for the student I knew who was involved with that.
That's awesome. What about students who didn't get awarded work study? Will they still be able to apply for jobs on campus?
Yes. There are both, right? So it's a weird, how all that works is sort of a behind the scenes thing that the students don't really see. They will see jobs, right? And they will apply for those jobs. So
Absolutely.
then the work study and not work study is stuff that we manage behind the scenes.
Yep. This might be too soon to answer, but I think it's still a good question. What's the policy of wearing masks on campus? Do we have any policies in place for that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we are still working on that. We're going to be working on those sorts of things, protocols through the summer. Some of it will depend on what the state and the higher education commission tells us are our policies, because we will comply with them. But if so I don't have an exact answer. We don't have a policy yet. If I had to make a guess for you, I bet the admissions people love it when I do this. If I had to make a guess for you, my guess is that that masks would be required where social distancing is not possible. So if you are in a circumstance, let's say, maybe you're in a lab, right, where the instructor has to come up close to you to see what you are doing, in that case, that might require a mask. And we're looking into all those sorts of things and figuring out, well, where is it that we're going to say, here you need a mask, there you don't need a mask sitting in your dorm room. That's not what we're doing, right? So so that's my best guess for you right now, and we will have those policies that come out as we settle them out over the summer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And it looks like the questions actually have been winding down. So the other question that popped up is, are we going to have the Q&A sheet like we did for last week? And we'd be more than happy to put that together for you and send it out with the link. So you can always refer back to some of the questions that were answered, and then we'll make sure to type it out for you as well. And somebody did ask if we can get more information on the GROW program, so we'll also include that in there. But other than that, we just wanted to reiterate that there's going to be information coming out about how fall is going to look like. I think we've been doing a great job of being as transparent as possible, so we'll let you know as soon as that information is available. Summer classes are open. We want you in there. It's going to be a great class discussion. Email your admissions counselors if you are interested in registering for the class, and we'll make sure that JC and Mike Shingle have you all squared away. And the first class is going to be, JC, one more time, could you talk about the first day of class?
The first day of class is next Tuesday, May 26th at 6 p.m.
Perfect. So we're all looking forward to that first class. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and asking all these wonderful questions. Hopefully we were able to get to most of those questions and answer them. If there aren't any questions, again, we'll make sure to send out a Q&A sheet. We're happy to see that it actually helped you guys, and so we'll continue that for you. Thank you again, JC, for hopping in, and Warden Phillips as well. But everybody, please have a wonderful day today and enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you next week when Justin Hall from Outdoor Pursuits will be joining us to talk a little bit about the Voyage program. So thank you again and have a good day, everybody.
Thanks a lot, folks.